Gecko Moria has always been a really interesting character, and I think when he comes back, he might end up being one of the strongest people in the show. Now I know, it sounds crazy because it's Gecko Moria we talking about. But after revisiting Thriller Bark, it kind of gave me a new appreciation for Gecko Moria because he's not as bad of a person as I thought he was. Though with that being said, I must make it clear, he keeps absolutely terrible company. These two should be under the prison. Moving on. But when Gecko first meets Luffy, he doesn't even immediately kill this dude, even though he knows he has a bounty on his head, and the world government specifically told him that, hey, he's coming to where you are. Gecko heard about him talking about being king of the pirates, and he wanted to prove to him, buddy, you're not ready for that. Because keep in mind, we didn't know what he knew at this point in time. Gecko in his younger days used to be one of the strongest pirates out here, who with his own pirate crew circumnavigated the globe and made it all the way to Wano the same way Luffy did to fight Kaido. And just like Luffy, he fought Kaido and got mopped. But unlike Luffy, he ended up losing his entire crew. More so than trying to kill Luffy initially, he was just trying to warn this dude, buddy, with your strength, you're not gonna make it in the new world. I admit it, you got a couple of great crewmates over there, but you're gonna lose every single one of them. You know why? Because I used to be just like you. I too trusted in my famous allies to get me from point A to point B, but I concluded long ago that this wasn't enough. It seemed more like than trying to outright kill Luffy, he was trying to prove his worldview right. Gecko's this kid reminds me a lot about myself when I was younger. Trying to be king of the pirates, thinking I'm untouchable, thinking I'm unbeatable. But deep down, Gecko's just a dude that fears losing his crew, and he also doesn't want that for Luffy. Which is why he even had to give Luffy credit, it seems you got a couple of good underlings. I'm pretty sure he respects this aspect about Luffy a lot because it also is something that Gecko embodies himself. Look at Full of Lead Island when Absalom went missing. He pulled up to Emperor territory by himself saying, "Where's Teach at?" He never wanted crewmates because crewmates die and he'll feel sad about it. That's why he does everything in his power to make sure that they don't die on his watch. Now, unfortunately for him, Absalom was dead, but it was probably karma. But we do see with people like Perona that Gecko had to be somewhat of a good captain because when she finds out he's alive, she's ecstatic. More than ecstatic, she goes to Full of Lead Island to save him with the help of Kobe. So when you take it back to Gecko, you just see that he's a man that is a shell of his former self. He loves his crew, he loves the game of being a pirate, but he does not want to lose any more people that he cares about, so he'd rather use zombies. He didn't know his place in the world, and he was forced to see it by Kaido. So when he's telling Luffy, you gotta know your place, nails that stick out are always pounded back into place. He's talking about himself, and he's projecting it onto Luffy. To which Luffy responds, it's not gonna be the same with me because I'm rubber, and rubber always bounces back. And the end of this fight has always stuck with me because Gecko essentially won. He killed Luffy and he killed the Straw Hats. Much like how Boa Hancock's Devil Fruit works, when he takes your shadow, you don't get it back unless he actively gives it back to you. It doesn't matter if you knock him unconscious, it don't matter if you kill him, you will not get your shadow. So they were trying to find a way, how do we force Gecko to give us back our shadows with the sun coming up in a couple of minutes? Which leads to Gecko seeing Luffy constantly getting up, knocking him down, knocking his castle on him. And Gecko's like, Straw Hat, you think you can go to the new world? Aight then, go. If you think everything you've been through has been tough, you're gonna find a real nightmare waiting in the new world, so take your shadows back. And then he coughs up the shadows to let the Straw Hats live. He won. He could have taken the dub and gone home. But he cares about crewmates, and he sees that Luffy cares about his. Crewmates that Gecko himself even acknowledges, they're pretty good. So it's really interesting to see that he sees a bit of himself in Luffy, and he kind of wants Luffy to succeed, so he let him live. Maybe a bit of Gecko was hoping that, maybe that rubber kid that said that he always bounces back will actually find a way to do what it is that I wasn't able to do. Now, the last we saw of Gecko, he was on Full of Lead, got locked up, but then freed by Perona and Kobe, so he and Perona are off somewhere now. And I think the next time we see Gecko, he's going to be way stronger for two reasons. One, now that he's no longer a prisoner on Full of Lead, he can see news from the rest of the world. He'll see Luffy took down Kaido. The dude that I tried to beat that then killed my entire crew. Straw Hat took that dude down and became an emperor. For someone that aspired to take down Kaido and had his own dreams at one point, I really do think this is going to boost his motivation. Gecko used to be kind of chiseled, let's be honest. And dude clearly let himself go. And a Gecko that let himself go couldn't even really control these 1,000 shadows, which is crazy because your Devil Fruit is to control these shadows. Maybe a younger Gecko can do this, which is why he thought he could do it in this case. So if Gecko starts to get in shape, maybe this form becomes something he can actually control. And don't forget, he gets the skills of every shadow that he took. That's like Kakashi of the 1,000 Jutsu at that point. But the second thing is, he always wanted to rely on a zombie crew because his main crew got killed and he can't take that pain no more. Pain that he definitely felt again because he saw that Absalom was killed. But at the same time, he still had crewmates that not only really cared about him, but would actively invade Emperor territory on their own to come into prison and have their own little impel down to free you. Proving that yes, having a real crew is better than just having zombies because you're scared of having your real crew members die. They're reliable. The same way you admit that Luffy had good underlings, you got some too. And with the way Perona looks up to him for some reason, please give me that backstory. I can see him getting back in the game and becoming stronger, not just for himself, but for her. And for Absalom, who died along the way, but who really cares? But the main point is that when Gecko comes back into the story, he's going to be way stronger than he was previously. And the same way we heard crickets from Buggy, and then the next time we heard anything, he had these two under him, I think it's going to be the same thing, because we have not heard Cross Guild in a minute. So the next time we do is going to be Gecko's face right here. Cross Guild. Somebody even made a diagram of like what would happen if Gecko fused his, giant island ship with Cross Guild's base. They become like a mini Wano because to get there, you got to get through like the moat that's here. Or he might want to go and see Luffy because I really want to see what that interaction is going to look like. You took down the dude that wiped out my crew and destroyed my spirit. I guess it's a good thing I didn't destroy yours and I let you go. Because at the end of the day, Luffy was right. Gecko did try and fail, so he assumed Luffy would do the same thing. But Luffy quite literally made it through all of this because rubber does always bounce back.